Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Bed Crime Stories. I'm your host, T. We know Summer Wells' father, Don, and her mother, Candus Bly, both had run-ins with methamphetamine. Candus's mother, Candy Harrer, shared that her daughter struggled with a meth addiction at one point. And we know from Don's co-worker, Dudley Agin, that all Don talked about throughout the day was meth. Meth this, meth that. As I've been researching methamphetamine and how it's made for the Dylan Rounds case, it struck me that the 11-acre property at 110 Ben Hill Road in Beech Creek would have been the perfect place to make meth. I found an article on Bloomberg.com called The Rise and Fall of America's Rural Meth Labs. Written by Sarah Holder, the article talks about a book called The Alchemy of Meth. It was written by anthropologist Jason Pine, and it chronicles how methamphetamine addiction reshaped rural Missouri and beyond. As I read the article, I couldn't help but think about Don Wells, his obsession with meth, and his property over there in Beech Creek. Jason Pine describes looking for meth labs. What he came across were yards filled with scrap metal, decayed yellow grass, toys littering that yellow grass, riding lawnmowers, broken appliances, rusted metal cans, plastic bins, trailers, abandoned buses, and lo and behold, this is where tweakers were living as well as meth labs. Whose yard does that sound like to you guys? Missouri, according to Pine, is a state where minding one's own business often goes with the territory. That sounds an awful lot like what we've heard of Beech Creek, where Summer Wells lived. The Wells neighbor, Jody Sue Brown, told us that people in Beech Creek don't call the cops very often, and the cops don't like to go out to Beech Creek either. By the way, that's the same story we've been hearing about in Lucin, Utah, where Dylan Rounds disappeared. Jody Sue Brown also said that strangers aren't welcome in Beech Creek. And we know the neighborhood busybody / Gladys Kravitz, Fred Hill, noticed pretty much everyone who came and went along Ben Hill Road. Apparently cooking meth is an odoriferous undertaking. Mixing the ingredients results in strong odors that smell like ammonia, cat urine, and rotten eggs. People in the know can sniff out a meth lab if they are close enough to it. So meth makers seek out areas where people adhere to two rules: minding your own business and keeping your mouth shut. Poor rural communities in remote areas are ideal. The cops don't frequent them, and the people living there are usually dealing with poverty and despair. Meth offers them a way to make money. In fact, meth is known as the drug of the middle of nowhere. Compare it to heroin and crack cocaine, which are known as drugs in urban America. To cook meth, one needs space and privacy. It's a lot like moonshine, which is typically made way back in those hollers. Could Don and Candus have been whipping up meth in Beech Creek? Is that where they got the money for the Subaru? I'm just wondering. I could be completely off base here, but a lot of the pieces of the puzzle are fitting. Making meth also means having dangerous chemicals around, things like muriatic acid. Note that if muriatic acid is swallowed, it can cause irreversible damage to mucous membranes, extensive damage to the mouth, throat, and stomach. Holes in the esophagus and throat can result in serious infections in the chest and abdominal cavities, which may result in death. Also, the byproducts of meth labs contaminate their surroundings with harmful fumes and highly explosive chemical compounds. Abandoned meth labs have been called time bombs, waiting for a single spark that can ignite the contents of the lab. Note that meth itself kills. If a small child were to, say, ingest it, that could definitely extinguish life. Were Don and Candus smart enough to make meth without blowing their house to smithereens? Doesn't seem like it, right? But you never know. Practice makes perfect. Food for thought. Until the next time on Bed Crime Stories. Now do me a favor, smash that like button, subscribe, leave me a comment, and if you want to support my channel, you can do so right down there in the comments.